So as we survey a large swath of our clients and access the survey results, I want to talk about what general profitability expectations companies should have for enhancements. So subcontracted services. If you're not doing sod work yourself, if you're not doing large tree trimming work, maybe trees that are over 12 feet, generally you're going to have a target margin of 20 to 35%. As you start to get to that 35% mark, depending on the size of this ancillary service or the size of this subcontracted service within your overall bid, you may start to have a very, very high priced proposal. And so you have to understand, from your local market and also size of the project, if you can actually go that high from a margin standpoint. And so in the lowest levels that we typically see is about 20%. From a labor standpoint, I have a pretty big range on this, $55 to $85 an hour. And some people definitely get more for very, very high end types of work. But generally, your enhancements should go for 55 to 85 an hour. You ought to be at 60, 65% from a margin standpoint. And that's really where you can differentiate from a profitability standpoint. And then as you think about irrigation, there's been numerous studies that say, as you get into this enhancement type work, your target charge rate should be about $105. In some markets, it could be more. Obviously, when you're bidding from a recurring standpoint for irrigation wet checks and that sort of thing, you're not going to get anywhere close to that. You'll be lucky to get $55 to $65 in those competitive contracts. And so again, as I mentioned in the first slide, this is really a chance to repair and heal your margins. Materials, generally you're going to have either two types of proposals. One is where the cost of the installation, stakes, labor, et cetera, is going to be included in your price of a plant, tree, or shrub. Other times you're going to have labor as a separate line item. Ideally, you want to make 20 to 35%, just like a sub, on these base materials, and then get that 60 to 65% margin from a labor standpoint. So overall, based on what we see, it is very hard for companies to make money when they're subcontracting out if they are under a 20% margin for that subcontracted. Even though we often hear comments like, oh, it's no work, I just have my subcontractor do it. Take a step back and see scheduling. If the subcontractor doesn't do adequate work, the client's coming to you, not to them. And so there's got to be some floor that you have at a minimum. And then from an in-house standpoint, again, try to get to like 65%. And if you think about overall margins, air enhancements ought to be at least 55%. And if you can drive it to 65%, even better. We definitely see clients and from benchmarking data that is fully achievable. And then you compare that 65% margin to a typical recurring services margin, and it is significantly higher. And so as you blend these, that's how you get into a healthier business.